Well. Slop. Today it's time for a little bit of Drama Alert Nation. No, I'm just kidding, but there is a big new development for HOI4, specifically with the upcoming DLC. And that is Paradox is integrating Man the Guns into the base game of HOI4. Now, this isn't something particularly new. Paradox has already done it once before with a whole bunch of DLC around Goddamn Rung, which a lot of people did like, but at the same time, there was like a few awkward people that had literally just bought the DLC to find out it's now free. And the DLC that they've announced they're going to merge in is Man the Guns. Now, before we get through the whole ethical thing of making paid things free that you have previously paid for, let's just go in and see what Man the Guns actually offers and what you will now have access to if you only own HOI4 and not that DLC. Now, the big one, and this is going to be a bit controversial for some, but the big one for me that really annoys me, the fact this was even in a DLC to begin with, is C control. Are you noticing a lack of buttons down here? Yes, without Man the Guns, you had no ability to block access in C zones, which means, guess what? If you're just getting convoy raided somewhere endlessly, you couldn't reroute your convoys and make them go somewhere where they won't get raided or to avoid somewhere. Nope, you just have to sit there and take it. It's just absolutely horrendous. I complained about this when I did a video, I think like a year, maybe 2 years ago, when I played the game with no DLC to see what the game is like now. And oh boy, this was the most frustrating thing out of everything. So other than the sea control, they're going to move on to our navy here and notice that we can't place any sea mines. Yep, yeah, sea mines. You gotta pay for that. I mean, sure, okay, it's a very redundant feature for most people. I don't know how many people actually use sea mines. It's a very niche thing that you've probably used once, maybe twice in your entire history of HOI4. I cannot remember the last time I put down a sea mine. And then you also obviously have the old naval hull system. So you don't have any of the, custom builds that you can do. You just have the straight naval ship that you then get. And if you want to upgrade it, you put points into it, just like old HOI4. Nothing too crazy, I think fuel was added in this patch as well with the DLC, but obviously that wasn't in the DLC, just came with the patch. And also, I looked at the list, it said that you can also level up your admirals in this DLC. Or maybe I'm just reading that wrong, but they must have added this as a free feature at some point because I could do it right now. Or maybe it's just from another DLC where you can add it with your general traits. Is that a DLC thing as well? I'm not sure. And of course, if you don't have Man the Guns, you will be missing a few focus trees. Oh shucks, I don't get access to the Alt History UK tree. Oh man, I can't decolonize and set my CPU on fire. And then there's actually quite a few nations that did get a focus tree in this patch, obviously, and it's a bit of a wide variety of nations that did get it as well. We've got the Netherlands, which, yep, just the base tree, nothing fun there. And then we also got the Mexicans, no thank you, with the Mexi can't get a focus tree, and also the US alt history paths, which I'm going to be real, I don't think a lot of people do anyway, so maybe you're missing out on too much here, unless you come from the south part of America and you have certain political views. But I think, if you haven't had Man the Guns at this point, I'm actually interested in who's playing without Man the Guns HOI4 right now. Put your answer in the comments down below. Don't just, if you're watching on your TV, all right, you've got to press the up button on your remote. You got to hit the comments. And you got to spend like 45 minutes typing out the word me by pressing all the buttons. But I think if you haven't played Man the Guns, realistically, you're not actually missing out too much on focus trees. I don't think the all history paths for everything that's been added are very good. I guess the big things you are missing out on is obviously the Dutch tree and the Mexico one, but they're not that great either. The Mexican one's pretty fun if you get Trotsky back, but it's like a one-time thing kind of type of fun. I don't think you're really missing out on anything though with the Dutch. Yeah, you're not missing out much. But here comes the real question. If Paradox is making Man the Guns free, and they are clearly making a habit out of this now where they're integrating some of those old DLCs into the base game to make it a lot easier for them to update things, because currently, if you don't know, Paradox will have to make two focuses, or two versions of a focus sometimes to accommodate for different DLCs. I think it's most egregious for was it By Blood Alone that added like the MIOs and stuff like that in? And this just makes it a little easier for them to integrate things in the future, because obviously, you know, if you're missing some DLCs and there's so much stuff in this game at this point that a lot of it is locked behind DLCs, that I'm imagining it's probably an absolute like untangling spaghetti trying to figure it out sometimes for them, which, you know, no need for Paradox, right? It's their game, they're making money doing this, that's what they're paid to do. But if they are just giving away DLC for free, you know, that is the best way to go about it. If it's going to make your life easier and we get easily, you know, quicker, better DLC that's a lot, you know, more optimized, there's not these multiple focus trees that you see with different effects that you have to worry about, and then obviously that slow things down when you're going into the future and you want to add more features. That's great. I prefer that 100%. But then comes the question for Man the Guns, whereas what if I just bought Man the Guns yesterday? Oh well, I guess you can get a refund on that. Okay, but what if I bought Man the Guns a month ago? At what point do we get a cutoff here where like you're like, bro, okay, no refund? I mean, personally, I've had Man the Guns all the way since it was released. In fact, I think it was the DLC that brought me back to Paradox, specifically HOI4. I think I was doing a lot of other Paradox games around that point. I was doing a lot of like E4 scenarios, Vic 2, but I think I didn't upload like a HOI4 video in like a year. And that certainly wasn't because I don't like HOI4, as you can tell from the channel now that we have, you know, pretty good, consistent updates with loads of DLC. I'm on it constantly. But back then it was pretty, you know, slim pickings, not a lot of good DLC, huge waits in between them. But Man the Guns brought me back, and it was a pretty damn peak time for the channel. But obviously, if you are making DLC free and people have recently bought it, I think we're going to have a bit of a discussion here, because a lot of people, I think, will probably feel pretty, you know, misled if they've missed out on having to, you know, pay for something when it was just going to get integrated into the game, into the base game, I should say, immediately after. But then I imagine there's also a lot of people that recently bought it that also feel, you know, probably not as miffed, but still pretty miffed. And then there's, you know, people that have had it on release, maybe, you know, they haven't touched it too much, or they, you know, they still feel a bit ripped off that they've had to pay for something that is now free in the game. I think a lot of people that probably had it on release have had their fun with it, probably don't think too much about this. I'm sure there's some people pinching their pennies though that are really upset. I don't know. I think it would be really nice for Paradox to offer something in return for people who already own the DLC, potentially like a discount for the new DLC that's coming up or something, you know, just a little bit of, you know, oh, you didn't waste your money, here's a little extra something if you want to buy a DLC, or you get another DLC for free potentially that you don't own, or something like that. Surely that's fair, right? I mean, that being an ideal world though, am I correct? I mean, you're probably not going to get anything here, but it would be nice. I think the real Chad move though would be to not wait a few dev diaries in to announce that, you know, this DLC is now going to be made free, because I'm assuming they probably knew they were going to do this way back when. And if they didn't, I'm sure, feel free to correct me, Paradox. I'm just making an assumption here that they did know they were going to do this. It should have been announced way long ago. And I do hope in the future, you know, if they do have a plan where they're going to integrate more, like the one I imagine may get integrated as well is probably like By Blood Alone, because again, like the MIOs and the air designer stuff like that, that's probably another headache for them to deal with over time. I think at the bare minimum, you should take some of the features out from the DLC, like the designers, just put them in base game now. Do that and get that out of the way. But I think if, you know, you're not too miffed about if you already own the DLC, it's probably very good for you. You get yourself a free DLC, and on top of that, I'm assuming Paradox, as usual, if they're doing a rework of a nation, you will get access to the historical branch of that tree for free if it ever comes up. Obviously, not too relevant for this DLC because, well, you know, the UK, they might be up next for a new DLC after Japan, I won't lie. I do have a feeling that might be the next big one. I think it's going to be them and the US. I don't know if they're going to do them individually or together. I've already discussed this a whole bunch, so we're not going to go too far into it. But yeah, I would have liked a lot more warning. And sure, okay, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe Paradox weren't thinking about this, you know, way back then when they announced the DLC. They've only just come to terms with it, sure. But for future reference, if you're going to go ahead and, you know, People are gonna, in between you doing this, they're gonna buy your DLC, which obviously I'm assuming the company, guess what, wants to make money. Company like money, so they don't care too much. But if you're coming off the back of like Graveyard of Empires and a lot of bad PR from some really, you know, not that great DLCs, potentially you should go for a bit of good PR and give people a heads up. Now, either way, I am excited for people who haven't had this DLC, if they want to give it a try. It is got some fun stuff in. It's a little bit dated, but obviously if you've not played any of the alt history paths for these nations, or you want to play Mexico or the Netherlands, now's a great time to do it. It's going to be free soon, I imagine. I don't actually know when they announced it. When did they announce it? Is it with the next DLC, I imagine? Whenever the next DLC comes out, then you'll have a lot to do. But there is obviously the big question of how ethical is this, and what is the cutoff point where you still have the right to be annoyed? I think realistically, no matter what, if you paid for something, it later becomes free. No matter how much amount of time comes up, somebody will always feel a bit annoyed. Personally, I don't feel that annoyed. I probably even got this DLC for free, so maybe I did. I don't know if Paradox were talking to me back then. I may have got this DLC for free. Not too sure on that one. I'm not 100% sure. I might have bought this DLC myself. I'm going to be real with you, but potentially they could have given it to me. It was a long time ago. I think this one came out in like 2019. In a weird way, it does feel way longer than that though. But yeah, wow, man, the guns free in the game. I do think just, you know, instead of potentially just adding more DLC into the base game though, they should just take a few of the features out. I mean, nobody wants La Resistance, so I imagine a lot of people do tell me they just play straight up without the La Resistance turned on because they hate the spy agency stuff. Personally, I don't mind it. I never use it for the most part other than collab governments, but I know there is a strict amount of players out there that refuse to turn it on. But yeah, that's all I really want to talk about today. Man the Guns is coming out for free, so if you did not know, don't go out of your way to buy it, okay? Don't do it because you're wasting your money. I don't know if Paradox have announced they're going to offer a sort of refund policy or if it's already taken off sale. Don't buy it though. Wait patiently. There you guys, waiting to see if you were waiting. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think of this. Is it scummy? I imagine a lot of people think it's probably going to be scummy. People are going to be annoyed. I imagine there's people like me that are thinking, you know what? I'm glad more people get to get this for free, even if I've personally had to pay it, which is the camp I'm in. I've had my fun with the DLC, even if I had paid for it, which I think I probably did back in the day. I'm just glad people get it for free now. I 100% think you guys will have fun with this now free DLC. And yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And until next time, my little sloppers, good slop!